Okay, you sent us some really fascinating material this time. It reads like like a real-life courtroom drama. You've got a former Tesla engineer going toe-to-toe with Elon Musk.
It's quite the story.
Yeah, and we're diving into a recent court ruling that, honestly, has some potentially huge implications for pretty much anyone who's ever signed an agreement with a big company, which, let's face it, is most of us.
Exactly. That's the core of our deep dive today. It's a decision from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and it involves Christina Ballon, who used to be an engineer at Tesla. The article we looked at really breaks down her ongoing legal fight and this latest ruling. It's a real head-turner, especially for how these corporate disputes, move forward.
So Christina Ballon, let's start there. What's her background? How did she end up clashing with a giant like Tesla?
Well, back in 2014, Ballon was fired from Tesla, and she wasn't just any employee. Apparently, she was considered a bit of a rising star. Her initials were actually etched onto Tesla batteries.
Wow, really? Like literally on the batteries?
Yeah, kind of a symbol of her contribution. But she claims she was let go right after she raised some safety concerns, something about a potential design flaw in the braking system.
Oof. So you're a key player, literally leaving your mark on the product, and then you flag a safety issue. That takes guts.
It really does.
You know,
Imagine doing that.
So she flags a potential problem, gets fired. But that wasn't the end of it, was it?
Not even close. After she was fired, Tesla accused her of criminal activity. They claimed she used company resources for some kind of secret project.
Okay, that sounds serious.
Right. Bellon insists these accusations were totally false, designed to damage her reputation. So in 2019, she filed a defamation lawsuit against them.
I can see why. I mean, think about the impact. Being publicly accused of something like that by a company like Tesla, that could make finding another job incredibly difficult.
Absolutely. It's one thing to lose your job, but another to have your professional integrity just, attacked like that. It's a whole different ballgame.
So this defamation suit's been working its way through the courts. Give us the quick version of that legal journey so far.
It's definitely been a winding road. Initially, she actually had some success in federal court, looked promising for her, but then Tesla pulled out an arbitration agreement she'd signed when she was hired.
The arbitration agreement. We hear about those a lot.
Yeah, they're everywhere, where you agree beforehand to handle any disputes privately with an arbitrator instead of in a public court.
Right. Supposedly faster, cheaper.
Sometimes, but critics argue it can favor the company, maybe less transparency. Anyway, in this case, the arbitrator sided with Tesla, dismissed Balin's claims entirely.
So a loss for Balin in
A
arbitration.
complete loss. And then Tesla went back to federal court to get that arbitrator's decision officially confirmed, sort of rubber stamped. A federal judge granted that in 2022. So at that point, it looked like a clear win for Tesla. Done deal.
Okay, so loss in arbitration confirmed by a federal court seems pretty final, but obviously not, given this new ruling.
Exactly. Even after all that, Bellin didn't give up. She appealed to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Her argument was basically, hey, wait a minute, that federal court shouldn't have confirmed the arbitration award. That part belongs in state court.
Okay, now we're getting to the heart of this latest news. The article mentions a Supreme Court case from 2022, Badgerow v. Walters. How does that fit in?
Right, this is where the legal nuts and bolts get really interesting. Ballin's whole argument, which the Ninth Circuit panel actually agreed with, relied heavily on that Badgerow decision. Basically, the Supreme Court had clarified the limits on what federal courts can actually do in these arbitration-related cases. Judge Han Dyke, writing for the Ninth Circuit, really emphasized that federal courts have limited jurisdiction.
Limited jurisdiction, meaning they can't just hear any case thrown at them, even from a big company like Tesla.
Precisely. Think of it like specific entry requirements. Federal courts generally need a specific reason to hear a case. For confirming an arbitration award like this, one key requirement is often the amount in controversy.
The amount of money at stake, right, has to be over $75,000.
Exactly. Plus, usually diversity of citizenship parties from different states. But the Ninth Circuit focused on that $75,000. They looked at Tesla's request to confirm the arbitration award and said, wait a second.
But hold on. She was suing for defamation. Couldn't the damage to her reputation and career easily be worth more than $75,000?
You'd think so, logically. But the court looked at the specific thing Tesla was asking the federal court to do at that moment. They were asking the court to confirm the arbitrator's decision, which had dismissed Ballin's claims. So effectively, Tesla was asking the court to confirm a $0 award. No money was changing hands based on that confirmation itself.
Ah, I see. So because the request was just to make the dismissal official,
Yeah,
and no actual damages were being awarded by the court at that point.
correct. The $75,000 wasn't present on the face of Tesla's petition to confirm. The court said, essentially, you're asking us to confirm something that has a value of 0 right now, that doesn't meet the threshold for us to get involved. It's quite a specific technical point, but a crucial one.
Okay, that's a subtle but important distinction. So what was Tesla's counterargument? Did they try to say, well, we were in federal court earlier for other reasons? The article mentioned something about a stay.
Yeah, they tried that angle. They argued that because they initially went to federal court asking for a stay, basically asking the court to pause things while arbitration happened, rather than asking for a dismissal right away, they sort of had a return ticket back to federal court later to confirm the award.
Like keeping a foot in the door.
Kind of, but the Ninth Circuit didn't buy it. They pointed out that the lower court's actual judgment was a dismissal of Ballin's underlying case, sending it to arbitration, and Tesla never appealed that dismissal.
So they couldn't just rewind and pretend the dismissal didn't happen.
Pretty much, the court said, look, the final unappealed decision was a dismissal. That's the reality we have to deal with now. You can't rely on an earlier procedural step to justify jurisdiction for this separate confirmation action.
Got it. So the Ninth Circuit ruling essentially says the federal court messed up by confirming the award. What happens now? What does this mean practically for Christina Bellin?
It's a really significant procedural win for her. Huge. The Ninth Circuit basically nullified the federal court's confirmation of the arbitration award. They sent the case back down with instructions to dismiss Tesla's confirmation request for lack of jurisdiction.
So Tesla's win confirmation is wiped out.
Wiped out. It means the whole process of confirming that arbitration award has to start over. And this time, it'll likely have to be in state court, not federal court.
And that gives Bellin another bite at the apple.
Potentially, yes. It gives her a new venue, state court, to raise any procedural objections she might have about the original arbitration process itself. Maybe she argues it wasn't fair, or the arbitrator overstepped. It could, theoretically, even lead to the arbitration award being vacated, or maybe even a new arbitration.
And her lawyer mentioned this could have broader effects.
Right. Her attorney suggested this could have profound implications for how corporations handle these things. It might force more companies to go to state courts to get their arbitration wins confirmed, and the rules or standards in state courts might be different, potentially more favorable to the individual in some cases.
So it's not a win on the merits of her defamation claim yet, but a win on where and how the fight over the arbitration process continues. It's like arguing about the referee's calls before you argue about who actually won the game.
That's a good way to put it.
Yes.
It's about the procedural rules of the game. And for Obama personally, this ruling sounds like it was a massive morale boost. The article says she was on cloud 9.
I can imagine, after years of fighting.
Definitely. And she seems to hope this whole thing will eventually expose what she calls the hidden facts about Tesla and Musk's work environment. She even used the phrase Pandora's box.
Wow. Pandora's box. That implies she believes there's a lot more under the surface here.
It certainly suggests that. For her, this isn't just some abstract legal principle. It feels deeply personal.
And there are real-world stakes for her too, right? Beyond just the legal fight.
Oh, absolutely. She claims her professional life has been devastated. She says she's been effectively blacklisted, making it incredibly difficult to find work because of the cloud from Tesla's accusations.
That's tough.
And on top of everything, she's also battled stage 3B breast cancer. She mentions wanting to clear her name partly for her son, so he doesn't grow up thinking his mother was dishonest.
That adds another layer entirely. Just incredibly difficult circumstances.
Yeah, there's a really poignant detail where her teenage son apparently celebrated the ruling with her, saying, "Mom, you won." You can feel the emotional weight there.
Absolutely. And her message is never give up to her son. And that direct shame on you, I will never give up, aimed at Elon Musk. It really highlights how personal and, frankly, how determined she is. It's about her integrity.
It really seems to be. And it's worth noting the article states Tesla didn't respond to a request for comment on this ruling.
Interesting. The article also just briefly mentions the judges on the Ninth Circuit panel were appointed by presidents from different parties.
Yeah, it notes that factually appointees from Bush Sr., Obama, and Trump administrations were on this panel. It doesn't delve into politics, just provides that context. It's a reminder that these decisions come from panels composed of individuals with diverse legal backgrounds.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. For everyone listening, what's the main takeaway from this deep dive?
I think the key thing is this. The Ninth Circuit ruling is a major procedural victory for Christina Balan in her very long fight with Tesla. It basically resets the stage for confirming that arbitration decision, moving the action likely to state court. It really underscores how critical these sometimes complex rules about jurisdiction are, and it raises questions about whether we'll see a shift, maybe more arbitration confirmations happening in state courts going forward.
Right. And zooming out, it all started with an employee raising safety concerns, which then led to this incredibly complex legal battle over her firing, defamation claims, and now the fine print of arbitration law.
Exactly. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? When we all click agree on those terms and conditions or sign employment contracts with arbitration clauses, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
It prompts you to consider that balance of power between an individual and a huge corporation. Does this ruling maybe nudge that balance slightly, or does it just show how vital and sometimes confusing these procedural rules are in determining where and how these fights play out?
It's definitely food for thought. How much power do we sign away in those agreements?
It's a question worth asking. And for Christina Balan, the fight isn't over. With the case now potentially heading to state court to deal with the arbitration award, this story is likely far from finished. Today's deep dive gives you the background for whatever comes next.